What's one thing that the 23-meter throwers do consistently?
We're gonna talk about this and we're gonna start right now. All right, so first, let me just bring up right now, this might not even be just about the 23-meter guys, Joe and Ryan Krauser. Okay, Joe Kovacs, Ryan Krauser. I'm gonna bring in Tom Walsh, 2290, okay? I'm gonna bring in even Josh Awatunde, who just got third at the World Championships this past year. I probably should also bring up Darlin, but Darlin does a little bit of a different movement out of the back, okay? So when we're talking about these guys, these are the best of the best of all time, okay? Take Randy Barnes and his needles and throw them out the door. Take Oldfield and his needles and pills and throw them out the door, okay? Let's take Timmerman, same thing. Let's be real, he was on drugs. Throw him out the door. So let's focus on what are Joe and Krauser doing that we can help to teach our elite level athletes today. What can we learn from them specifically? And if we look at especially someone like Ryan, who's worked directly in the past with Josh Awatunde, and even looking at what Josh has done with his coach, Sarge, one of the best coaches in the entire world, we can start to see there's something very unique with these guys out of the back of the circle. And I think it starts initially with one, how they're loading, okay? I think it's pretty simple. Just watch how they load. It's a nice, easy wind. They get that shot behind that right hip. They get good tension set in their upper body, and then they start to open. As they're opening, I think that one of the things that I learned early on was that you should try to keep that left arm inside. And a lot of people still teach this. I think it's perfectly fine. But if we watch Ryan and if we watch Joe Kovacs throw, the first thing that they tend to do as they come out of that wind is actually lead that left arm a little bit past the quad, a little bit past that left knee. That sets everything up. And we've talked about this in the past, especially with Joe. We've broken down some of Joe's training footage from Doha, where you can actually see as Joe opens with his left arm, you can see something very, very interesting. You can actually see that that left hand sets up where his right foot sweeps, okay? And this is the big factor here, is that when we're talking about these guys and their technique, now we can start to see some very consistent themes. And if you look at Josh, and you look at Tom Walsh, and you look at Ryan Krauser, you look at Darrell Hill, and you look to a point at Darlin Romani, you look at a lot of these guys, and you start to see that as they open, okay, they push that right leg wide, okay? So that right leg gets really, really wide. They're not having a super narrow right leg sweep. And then interestingly enough is that when that right leg gets very, very wide, their left knee is essentially holding with the center of the sector. Okay, and if we look at Joe's throw, especially from the Diamond League when he did go 23 meters, you can see that left heel open, okay, and that left knee and left hip are basically all lined up with the super wide right leg that then cuts very aggressively. And when they cut with that wide right leg, everything stacks in a balanced position in the center. And that leads to that big monster finish. Okay, so when we're educating our young throwers, or if we're a collegiate thrower, or even a post-collegiate thrower now, some of the major things that we have to think about is what are we doing when we set? Okay, how are we actually winding? What are we doing with our feet? What are we doing with our ankles, our knees, our hips? What type of hip flexion are we looking at? How are we setting that up where we want to open and push? Open, push, okay? Open, push wide. And then the big factor is their left arm dropping? Is their left arm level? And with these guys, it's going to be level and balanced, okay? When they come around that left leg, that wide, wide, wide right. And if you look at someone like Tunde and you look at someone like Krauser, they have this nice, crazy long right leg that's very, very patient. And then as they turn on that right leg sweeping to the center, that fast right leg then cuts down, and then all of a sudden, everything starts to light up with tremendous speed. So it's interesting because early on in the throw, it almost looks slow. Josh almost looks slow, and then he throws 22 meters and gets third at Worlds. Someone like Krauser almost looks slow until they cut that right leg in, and that wide position sets everything up. Now, the interesting comparison here in the contrast is that someone like Tom Walsh, someone like Joe Kovacs, they tend to be a little bit quicker right out of the back, but they're still hitting a wide right and they tend to have a balanced left arm. So that big key factor when we're teaching people how to spin, teach a wide right sweep. Teach the spin as a right side around the left side. Teach it as a parts educational tool, okay? It's not upper body, lower body. It's right side around the left side so that people can learn what their left arm has to do, what their left leg has to do, what their right leg has to do, what their shoulder has to do. But that main key factor is to push that right leg wide when you're sweeping to the center, just like those 23-meter bombers. If you guys need help with your programming, head over to throwsuniversity.com, pick up a program today to help you drop some bombs. Until next time, peace.